I figure it's a good time to do it. Lots of new openings in Hollywood. I figured it'd be fairly easy to be an actor. Really, you need to do two things. You need to be able to pretend to be other people, and you need to keep your dick in your pants. All the actors out there, they're really good at the pretending thing, not so good at the dick thing. Lots of dicks coming out in Hollywood. 30, it's a new count, so 30 dicks have been out in inappropriate times, inappropriate places to people who didn't want to see those dicks. But yeah, so I'm thinking about becoming an actor, film one of those newly vacant, maybe work on the ranch. That's a new job that's open. A couple other ones, House of Cards, I can maybe fit in that one. We'll see. A lot of people wouldn't want to do that kind of job. They're afraid of speaking in public or being the center of attention. It's a phobia. A lot of people have phobias. I have some phobias myself. Clowns. I'm afraid of clowns. I know some, not a super popular one, but some people are afraid of clowns. And I had talked to my family and my friends and stuff, trying to come up with where it started. Like, where did this fear of clowns come from? I mean, when I was 5, I found a dead clown in the woods behind my house. He was blood-eagled by some wannabe Vikings, I guess. Kind of a horrifying thing to find when you're 5, but I get over that pretty quick, so I don't think it's that. Then a couple of years later, I went to the circus with my parents. We get separated and just kind of wandering around looking for them, exploring like 8, 9-year-olds do. And then all of a sudden I was surrounded by 12 clowns. 12 clowns then pulled me into a Volkswagen Beetle and just molested the Christ out of me. For like 2 hours. It was horrible. All I could smell was grease paint, sweat, failure. But again, I didn't really last that long. I mean, it was, I got over it fairly quick. Kids are resilient. So yeah, I can't think of why I'm afraid of clowns. But it's just one of those irrational fears, I guess. You don't know where these things come from. Especially in my case. I mean, I don't know why I'd be afraid of clowns. Spiders. A lot of people are afraid of spiders. It's stupid. It's stupid to be afraid of spiders, especially in Nova Scotia. How big are our spiders? But I am. I'm terrified of spiders. And I'm a big guy, so that's worse. It's worse to be a big guy and be afraid of spiders. They're little, tiny little things. And again, here in Nova Scotia, they're really small. But then I moved to Asia. And I lived in Asia for 7 years. And I'm going to tell a story about my first real encounter with a real spider. And this thing was the size of a medium-sized dinner plate. I mean, bigger than my hand, for sure. And I will scream like a child, like a terrified child, if I'm startled by a spider. If I can see one and sort of creep up on it or around it, keep my eye on it, that's fine. But when they surprise me, it's awful. Like shrill, like really shrill screaming, like a child. Embarrassing, humiliating, like it's happened. But this particular time, I got into a fight with a spider. I know it sounds weird, but it's the only way to describe what happened. It was about the first 2 months that I was living in Taiwan. And my wife and I finally got an apartment, and we were sort of setting up in there. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and I figured I wanted to get some beer. And I was going to walk to 7-Eleven and get some beer. And we were on the second floor, so I had to walk down a flight of stairs, and there was a little hallway with 2 pillars that led out into the alley. I got to the bottom of the stairs, and as I was walking towards the alley, I noticed this creature on the pillar. I wouldn't call it a spider, because it was bigger. It was worse than that. Spider's a bad name, but if there was a worse name for spider, that's what this thing was. This was like from hell. Some kind of creature that just came up through the sewers from hell and was hanging out on that pillar. Now here, I'm dealing with 2 very huge things in my life. I'm terrified of spiders, but I'm a fucking alcoholic, and I want to go get my beer. But I'm I can't walk by the spider. I mean, it's just too big, too scary, and I have to keep my eyes on the spider. If I take my eyes off, they're so fast. If I take my eye off the spider, it's gonna vanish. And now that'll be it for me. I'm wrote off for the night. If I lose track of that thing, it's over. Luckily, the guy that had just moved out of our apartment had left a box of empty DVD cases because he wanted to pack lightly. So he took all of his DVDs and put them inside one of those zipper cases. Left all of those boxes, CD boxes or DVD boxes, in a box by the front door. So I'm deciding now that I'm going to try and kill this thing because it has to die. I have to be the hero here and save other people from this creature. So I blindly sort of can't take my eyes off the spider because as soon as I do, that thing's gone. He knows we're locked, and we're both waiting for the other to make the first move. So I really slowly reach into this box, I pull it out, and just spare very quick glance at the box. And very appropriately, the box that I hauled out of that, the DVD box that I hauled out was The Sopranos, season 6, 5, whatever the last season was. And I thought it was very appropriate that I was going to try and whack this spider with the Sopranos DVD box. And now I'm creeping up on this thing. The adrenaline's flowing. I'm like, just electric. I'm so terrified yet committed to killing this thing. So I'm gripping this box to the point where I'm pretty much bending. And I creep up on this thing, and now I'm as close to the spider as I am to this mic stand. Now, I've played baseball and some other sports. I used to be fairly athletic, and you would think a spider this big on a pillar, I could hit it fairly easily with a DVD box. But I swung on this thing with everything I had, and I don't know if it was the adrenaline or whatever, but I was a little high. Clipped this thing on the top of its feet, and it sprung off of that pillar and landed on my chest. Now, again, it's hard to imagine this, but I turned into like a shrieking 3-year-old girl in a horror movie, you know, just found her dog dead on her, just shrieking. Probably no, well, they go to bed pretty early there, so maybe I woke some people up. But there was a lot of commotion. Now, like I said, we lived on the 2nd floor, so my wife hears her husband dying out the street from what she would hear. And she's coming down the stairs. I don't know any of this. I'm looking down at this, because I flipped out, just smacked this thing off my chest, and it was on the ground in front of me. I'm panting like I just run a marathon. Looking down at the spider on the ground, who's just sat there on the ground looking at me, and I'm looking at it. And then I just said out loud, "What now?" I said, "What now?" The spider. I only said it once, not twice. I just didn't know. But that sound of my voice made this fucker charge me. And I mean, it came at me with like ill intent. Like it charged me. A noise, an embarrassing noise came into my mouth, and I staggered back. And this was just as my wife came down the stairs and saw that I was backing up, and back banged into my wife. Now at this point, the sounds that came out of me when I banged into my wife, only dogs and my cats heard it. It was so high-pitched and shrill. And Karen didn't know what was going on. That's my wife, Karen. She was just freaking out. What's happening? Why are you down here screaming like a little girl? And I just pointed to it. She could still see it. And it was a monster. And she's not really afraid of spiders, but this was an intimidating beast. So she grabbed a mop. Now, with both my wife armed with a mop and me with the Sopranos DVD still in my hand, now we were too much for it, so it took that opportunity to flee. But it wouldn't have. If it hadn't been for the two of us, that thing would have taken me on and won. Like it beat me already. Like in our conflict, it came out on top because I was the one sweating and panting and crying, and it was still ready to go on the ground. It was happy to take me on. So that clown stuff was bullshit, but that was a real story that actually happened to me in Taiwan, and I still have dreams about it. But that was my last run with spiders over there. They were everywhere. And I lived there for 7 months dealing with them. So that's my one. That's an actual fear that I have. The second one I have is public washrooms. And I've had this for pretty much as long as I can remember. And for me, it was I could not use a public washroom if other people were in there. I have a fear of making any noise. The slightest noise I make is just mortifying to me. Now, other people seem to have no problem whatsoever making noise. I've heard god-awful things come out of it. Some men seem to enjoy it, because like they'll moan. They moan in the bathroom while they're taking a piss or taking a shit. And it's horrible to hear. And I'll tense up like I'm being attacked. Like I'm being assaulted when I hear it. I want to cover my ears and just sort of hide in the stall. But for me, whenever I'm forced to use a public bathroom, I always have to organize my actions with the flushing of other toilets when there's other people leaving. So I'll sit there uncomfortable and in pain waiting for somebody else to flush a toilet so I can use a bathroom. And then while I'm waiting, I usually have to hear other men just making these god-awful noises and sounds and groaning and stuff like that. And I wish I could be like that. It'd be a lot more comfortable to use the bathroom, but unfortunately I have one of those phobias. And I think I've probably been up here for too long, so I'm going to end like I always do with, you help me out here.
Impersonation.
What is it?
Seagull eating a hot dog.
Impersonation.
It's not an impersonation. That's what I always say wrong. It's an impression.
It's an
I can never remember the word. Maybe it's a phobia.
Impersonation.
I know.
How you doing?
You will impress me.
I can never pretty good. Well, actually, not very well. Fucking dying up here. So, mercifully, I'll be leaving the stage after my impression. My impression, not my impersonation. That's what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. So this is a hacky impression of a couple of modern movies, Sling Blade and Forrest Gump. And this is what I believe a conversation between Forrest Gump and Carl from Sling Blade on the park bench, waiting for a bus. Mama says, life is like a box of chocolates. I don't really eat chocolates because chocolates make me nervous. Thank you.